Hello all and welcome back to another wonderful video. Today I'm here in Ponytown because we're gonna make a character together. We're gonna make a species together. Well, it's not necessarily a new species that we're making together. We're gonna make an example of a Woolex. Now, Woolex is something that I made a very long time ago, around December of last year, actually, believe it or not. It's been around for a while. I actually made it shortly after I made the Nexiums, and the Nexiums are very old as well. I haven't done anything with either of these species in a very long time, and we're gonna start doing more things with them. We're gonna start being more active in the Nexium server and things like that. We're gonna do some more events and all kinds of crazy, wacky things like that. But today we're going to focus on the Woolex. I'm gonna share a tiny bit of lore about Woolex, which you've not ever gotten before. It's not on my server for some reason. I just haven't done anything with the Woolex. I just made them, thought they looked cool, and that was it. But we're gonna share a tiny bit of lore here before we share it on the server. We're also going to make a Woolex together, so you guys can learn how to make one. Of course, if you join the server for the species, there is of course a tutorial, and essentially we're going to be following that tutorial and kind of showing you how to do things from there. So anyway, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and start by making a new character. So let's go ahead and hit new. And we'll just call it Woolex for now. This is how you spell Woolex, by the way. The first thing that you need to do is allow custom outlines and don't darken outlines. There will also be grass code colors required and everything like that, but that's obviously shared in the server, so you guys can just copy and paste that from the server, so you guys can use that. But like I said, you're going to allow custom outlines and don't darken outlines. We're going to go ahead and go into my server so we can copy this winter grass color, because it is currently winter if you didn't know, and we're going to be using that grass code color for the rest of certain features. So you're allowed a total of 3 colors except for the grass. The grass color doesn't count towards the amount of colors that you're allowed to use. So we can do something like perhaps we'll just stick with red. We'll just stick with a reddish character and combo that up with a couple of things as we see fit. Perhaps a green or something like that. Actually, let's make it green. Let's try and do a Skella type thing here. We're not going to worry about getting the exact Skella color. We can do that later off screen. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and select our 3 colors, or think about our 3 colors as we go through the rest of the tutorial, because we're only allowed those 3 things. Shading is highly encouraged, and it will not count towards your color count. So if you're using green and then you use a slightly brighter green or a slightly darker green, that's not going to count as an extra color. It's all just going to count as green. So keep that in mind as well. First thing we need to do is we need to choose a body type, because it's not a default one. The body type is actually this one here. It's got spots. Ooh, ooky spooky. So we're going to choose that body type there. It's not a default one. We're going to make color 2 and color 3, the belly and underside of the neck, the grass color. So in this example, we're making a winter version. So you see this blue here and this green here. We're going to make that the winter grass color code. So this is the winter grass color code here. It is E4EEF6, and that is the grass code color. So something to keep in mind is, since we are using the whole thing and everything like that, where we're trying to match the grass and everything like that, we're going to unlock these on the side, and we're actually going to make them the same color. That way it sort of blends in with the grass a little bit better. If you have any sort of blending techniques or ideas on how to blend yourself in with the background, then that's highly encouraged as well. But this is pretty much the standard way to do it, or at least the basic way to do it. Moving on, these 2 things here, color 2 and color 3, can't be changed, by the way, because they're meant to be the grass color. It's meant to be like an invisible part that you don't necessarily see. But moving on, color 4 or whatever like that can pretty much be whatever you want. The color 1 can also be whatever you want. And like I said, we're going to try and do somewhat of a Skella one, so maybe we'll try to make that a little bit of a maroonish red or something like that. I don't know how well that's going to look. Maybe we'll tweak it later. I don't know, but that's what we're going to do for now. Next, we're going to edit the legs however we like, but we have to make sure that the front legs are the grass color. We can do this in different ways. So we can click some things here and change them up. That's right. We can change these up simply by doing that. So if we click this thing here that says 4 front back legs, it will make each the front legs and the back legs totally separate from each other. And when we click that, we can then go to the front legs pattern for the first one and change the color to the grass coat color, which in this case is the snow grass color, which is kind of confusing in a way. Next, we can do whatever we want to the second pair of legs, the back legs. Perhaps we want to make it something like, stripey. I'm thinking we do something like this, and we just have it sort of match Skella's blue cuffs or something like that. Perhaps we can do that, maybe. So, next up are the hooves, which, believe it or not, we have to do something with the hooves. So you can only have the quote-unquote selected hoof, which I'm going to show you in a moment, and it must be pure pure blink. That's wrong. It needs to be either pure blue or pink, depending on the gender of your Woolex. Blue for male and pink for female. As a side note, remember that only the back legs can have these because Woolex don't have front legs. So again, we can do something where we do match hooves for front and back. That will separate them. We can make sure the front hooves are completely invisible or gone or whatever, and then we can customize the back hooves. The selected hoof is this one right here. It's right next to this one, and this one is between those two. It is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th one in the row. It may be different by the time you watch this. Maybe there's new hoof patterns out. Maybe there's less hoof patterns out for some reason. I don't know. The game changes all the time, but just keep in mind that this highlighted hoof is the hoof that you're supposed to use. So Skella is female, so we're going to go ahead and change the color of this. We're going to make it pinkish. It doesn't have to be, necessarily perfectly pink, but it needs to be pink enough to where people are going to realize that, hey, that's pink. That is pretty much it for, the hoof part of everything. Next up, we have to have antenna. This is actually extremely important. The lore basically requires this to be a thing. So we're not going to do any kind of special color patterns with this or anything like that, but it does need to match your hoof. So again, if you're female, it needs to be pink, which Skella is. So we're actually going to copy this color code up here. That way it matches, and we're going to paste it down here. So we now have the antenna, which is extremely important. There's actually a lot of lore, not necessarily a lot of lore, but there's definitely some lore there on the part of them having antennas and everything like that. Essentially, the antennas are sort of like a unicorn's horn, essentially, but it's way more powerful than a unicorn. It is basically equal to about 5 unicorns. That's how powerfully magical the Woolex are and everything like that. Yeah, that's a little bit of lore, a little bit of teaser of the lore that we're going to be releasing soon on that server. So let's move on to the rest. The Woolex are a sort of fairy-ish kind of species. So what we normally do, or what I do, and what is required in the tutorial on how to make these, you must use the changeling wings because they're the most fairy-like. Again, we are going to make them the same color as the gender of the character. So this is pink, so we're going to make this pink. You can kind of mess around with the outline of this if you want to. Maybe you want to make the outline sort of like, green or something like that to kind of match the body. Maybe you want to make it just brighter red around it or something like that. That's actually what I'm going to do. That actually doesn't look too bad, but that's what we're going to do for this one. You can change the outlines of this because it's not really necessarily anything where it's going to mess with the snowy parts of, hiding this part of your character or whatever. So you can, change the outlines of these things, but keep in mind that it does need to be pink if you're female and blue if you're male. You need to use the big ears. You need to use the bunny ears. You can kind of pretty much make these however you want. Again, just keep in mind that you're using the 3 colors. Right now, we're just using green, blue, and red. So we're going to stick with that, and we will probably just keep the default colored ears. I don't know if that'll end up looking good. Maybe we'll change it to red later. I don't know. So it doesn't say in the tutorial on the server, but any of these patterns are allowed. You can use any 3 of these patterns. Just keep in mind that you stick to the 3 color rule and don't end up making like a bunch of like rainbows and eye bleeding characters that just have a bunch of random colors stuffed all over it. So just keep that in mind, and let's move on. So essentially we do that. All of that is pretty much done. The marks aren't important. They literally mean nothing. You can add one if you want to, but there's no reason to add those because it's not really part of the Woolex. I skip hair. They're not supposed to have hair. I'll just go ahead and go into that. I totally skipped that in the tutorial, but they're not supposed to have hair. Yeah, so just make sure you remove the hair when you make your Woolex. No back mane either, so no hair whatsoever, except a tail, because we do get a tail, and tails are pretty cool. So, as it says in the tutorial, any tail with any pattern is allowed, so you can go nuts here. You can do something like this. This is personally my favorite thing to do to the Woolex, because I think it looks the best with them, but I do find it kind of nice to see what people kind of do with their Woolex and everything like that. I don't know why this is not the the base color, but there you go. We'll just click that and make that the base color just so it matches the character and everything like that. And we'll just do, we'll just keep that blue. We'll just keep that blue for now. Like I said, just a quick thing to kind of show you how to make one, not necessarily trying to make the best looking one or whatever. But anyway, that's pretty much all you do with the tail. Like I said in the tutorial, you can do any of these tails. You can go striped, do this pattern, whatever. Just make sure, again, you keep to the 3-color rule. So let's move on to the face, because there's some things to change with the face. First off, you can have pretty much whatever eye color you want. So the eye color, the eye whites and eyelashes must all be the same color to create 2 large eyes with no pupils. We also need to make the eyes, the large eyes, highlighted in the picture, which is basically just the default eyes here, so you're not going to really mess with that. You're just going to make these the same color, essentially. So we're going to do that. We're going to make the eyelash color the same color, and boom, we have this. Probably don't want to make that color. So when you do all of that, you should be left with something that looks a little bit like this for your eyes and everything like that, which is part of the thing. We're going to use the 3rd muzzle, which is this one here. So we're gonna go to this. We're gonna go to the 3rd muzzle. We're going to change the outline of the first thing all the way to black, and then the rest is going to be the color of the body. So this is the color of the body. We're going to copy and paste this. We're going to copy and paste it into the outline as well as here, and you should be left with something like, looks a little bit like a smiley face. Next, we're going to go to the freckles, the two dot ones. I guess you could probably use this one. Maybe we'll use that for some kind of special variation or something like that. I don't know. But you're going to use this. You should have two freckles like that. All you're going to do for this is you're going to make both of these black, and you should be left with something that looks a little bit like a derpy smiley face looking thing. So we're going to look at basically the face, the mouth, whatever you want to call it, and it's going to be the default expression. Nothing too fancy there. No fangs. Maybe again we'll do something with fangs. I don't know, but there's no fangs allowed. So stick to this expression. That way the character is basically smiling. And honestly, that should be it. There's nothing else really to the Woolex. You've made one. I'm going to save this so that I can kind of show it off later in the future or whatever. If you are curious, this is what my first Woolex ended up looking like. So you can definitely make something that looks pretty good. As I said before, you can kind of make the outline of the wing whatever you want, as long as you make the gender correctly with the colors and stuff like that. Make sure the snow is the right snow code color. You can add on certain clothes and things like that. I'm not really too picky about that. You can do any kind of tail you want, as I said before, and this nice little red to black pattern color with the green and the red, the black, and the green, essentially what is the 3 colors I'm using in this one. So there's definitely a lot of interesting combinations that you can do with this. I've made more than one. I'm not going to show all of them here because there's no point in wasting all that time. But that's pretty much it. That's what a Woolex is. As for lore, Woolex are a burrower fairy type species, but they don't burrow into the ground or into a tree. They burrow into something very unique and very interesting, and that is what I'm going to leave you with for a teaser for now. As I said, I'm going to be releasing Woolex lore and a revamp of the Nexium lore sometime this week on the Nexium Nexus server. I will leave a link to that in the description, and if you're curious, you can join. You can make yourself a Woolex, you can make yourself a Nexium, and we can have a good old time hanging out and doing things like that. The server for the Nexiums have been kind of dead for a while, but I'm hoping to sort of revamp this with new interest in the Woolex and Nexium and things like that. So hopefully we can get a good thing going here with this species again. And yeah, that's all I really have to say. So I do hope that you enjoyed, and if you did, please do like, subscribe, and share, and do all of those wonderful things, because when you do those wonderful things, you get access to wonderful content such as this. But that's not all you get. That's not all you get. You also get to become wonderful yourself, and I think we all want that. So do those wonderful things, and until next time, stay wonderful.